All right, I'm hoping a third time is a charm. So we have rational roots, irrational roots. Now yesterday we talked about rational roots. In other words, the answers were whole numbers or nice, neat fractions. But today we are going to have answers that do not have whole number or nice, neat fractions. We are going to have answers that are in simplest radical form. That's what we're doing, simplest radical form. So the process that we're going to go through today is the exact same process that we went through yesterday in section 11-3. We're going to be using the rule the square root of a times b is equal to the square root of a times the square root of b. That is the rule that we are going to use. So let's take a look at the square root of 216. Is there a number that goes into 216 that's a perfect square? Well, I know 4 goes into it because 4 goes into 16. So we have the square root of 4 times the square root of 54. So what is the square root of 4? Well, the square root of 4 is 2. Now, does 54 have any perfect square factors? Is there something that goes into 54 that is a perfect square? 9. 9 is a perfect square, and 9 goes into 54 6 times. So we have 2 times the square root of 9 times the square root of 6. Because 6 times 9 is 54. Well, we have 2 times, what is the square root of 9? 3. Times the square root of 6. Now, does 6 have any perfect square factors? Well, the factors of 6 are 1, that doesn't help us. 2, not a perfect square. 3, not a perfect square. There's nothing we can do with it. 6 cannot be broken down any further. So I need to multiply the pieces back together. We have 2 times 3, which is 6, times the square root of 6. And so this is our answer. This answer is in simplest radical form because we cannot simplify the radical anymore. Now, you shouldn't have to take my word for this. Let's double check using our calculator. And this will bring us to why it's useful to have simplest radical form. So if I were to do 216 square root, I get an answer that has a decimal that goes on forever. So the problem with this answer is it's an estimate. The calculator at some point has to round the answer. It is not an exact answer. The advantage to simplest radical form is it gives me an exact answer. Also, back in the days when there weren't calculators and you had to look up the square roots, I wasn't alive in that time either. Thank you very much, Will. You could look up the square root of 6 in these tables as opposed to having to, I mean, you wouldn't have a table that went up to 100 or 260. So anyways, so we have that. So let's see what happens if we take the square root of 6 and we multiply it by 6. Do we get the same answer? We do. So this actually works. Shocking. So let's move on to the next problem. So we have 3 root 125. Well, what does it mean when you have a number next to something in a square root bracket? Well, just like you having a whole number next to a parenthesis or a regular bracket, it means that you're multiplying. So we have 3 times the square root of 125. So we're going to need to break apart 125 into its pieces. Now, does 125 have any perfect square factors? The answer is no, or yes. Is there a number that goes into 125 that's a perfect square? Yes, we say yes, but what number is it? What whole perfect square number goes into 125? 25, okay, there we're getting there. A little slow on the uptake. So the square root of 125 is equal to the square root of 25 times the square root of 5.
Let's go, Mr. Fanfare. And then 25, you take that to 5, so 3 times 5, which gets you 15.
3 times 5 times the square root of 5. So 3 times 5 is 15. Zach is working too fast for me. Times the square root of 5. Now the question is 5 simplified all the way? Is there a number that goes into 5 that's a perfect square?
No.
No, it is prime.
Except for 1.
Except for 1, and that gets us exactly nowhere.
Same thing.
All right. So finally, for my last example problem. Yes, Dakota.
Are you tired of doing these problems yet?
I'm tired of being interrupted.
So that's a yes.
So yes. So we're looking for the negative square root of 1920. No, Dakota, I was not alive in 1920.
You sure?
What are you insinuating? That I'm old?
No. No.
No?
No.
How old? When do you think I was born?
He's just in detention. Give him another.
79.
1779. Gee, thanks.
1679.
1679. What do you think I am?
Middle age.
Do I look like middle aged? Do I look like a vampire? I'm a wizard.
You're like the girl entangled.
I am the girl entangled. That's right. I am Rapunzel.
You're only young.
Flowers gleam and grow.
You're not Rapunzel, you're the witch.
I'm the witch.
That's why you're so young.
Okay, I'm going back to the vampire theory.
I was gonna take it to vampire, but it just decided to go off on its own.
Oh, whatever. I know I sparkle.
Campbell's Rapunzel.
So
Campbell,
is
your
Barkley.
son.
So is Barkley.
Campbell's the lost princess.
I'm not sure you'd like that. So, what perfect square goes into 1920? I'm willing to bet 16 does. So we can break the square root of 1920 into the square root of 16 times the square root of, off the top of my head, I think it's 120. So what is the square root of 16? 4. So we have 4 times, well, does 120 have any perfect square factors? And the answer is yes, 4. So we have the square root of 4 times the square root of 30. The square root of 4 is just 2. So we have 4 times 2 times, now what are the factors of 30? 2, that doesn't help us. 3, nope. 5 and 6, not perfect squares. 10 and 15. I can't, that doesn't help. I can't simplify this any further. Therefore, I'm just going to have the square root of 30. So 4 times 2 is 8, times the square root of 30. Now again, going back to the beginning, we're only looking for the negative square root. So here we go. We have found the simplest radical form for the square root of 1920.